Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the 100th Mortgage Coach Friday Mastermind. So on a Friday at 9 o'clock, 100 times, we have done one of these calls. Today, we have a special guest joining us just because it's such a special call, Mr. Todd Duncan. Todd, thank you for joining us, my friend.
Hey, Dave. Good to be with you guys. Happy 100. It's always an exciting number to get to, and good to see Todd Bookspan again, man.
Yeah, well, it is special having you, Todd. I mean, I still remember kicking off Mortgage Coach from the stage of Sales Mastery and all the milestones that you have been part of. So it really is nice to have you here for our 100th call, buddy. Appreciate it.
I feel blessed, and I feel lucky that there's guys like you that catch a vision and catch a dream and go make something happen with it. And as a result, get to change not only an industry's life, but you get to change millions of homeowners' lives. It's just unbelievable. So I feel very, 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 very proud that you grew up at Sales Mastery, and now you have this amazing company that changes the lives of LOs and borrowers. It's just huge.
Yeah. Well, hey, you've got another person who has built quite a career and is now building a big brand with by Noon, Mr. Todd Bookspan, and my co-host of this Friday Mastermind. So it's kind of fun. We both grew up from that stage and from that community. What's up, Todd?
I think Todd's been on stage for, I think 4 or 5 times, right? Over the last 20, 25 years or so, and always has brought the goods. And again, it's the greatest joy in my life is watching people implement, right? It's not the idea is it's not just having a bunch of people in a room with it, and Bookspan is at the top of that list.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Bookspan, you ready to rock?
I am so excited to be here for number 100. And, certainly with you, Dave, who, we had this crazy idea when you partnered with Darren Hardy on the Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach Edition. And you and I had this crazy idea of let's just go for a couple of weeks and have this Friday Mastermind. And so to get that launched and be here with you, and then obviously to be here with the other Todd Duncan, who, is one of those top mentors in my life as a business person in the mortgage industry, as well as a leader and as a human being, as well as, is really big. When I look back to my introduction to him through Bill Hart, when I started coaching back with Bill in 2003, and in 2004 went to High Trust Sales Academy, which I think is now the boot camp. Todd, you'll have to correct me on what it's officially called, but was really a huge instrumental launch in my career. And so to be here with you guys today and with our Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind community is a big high for me, for sure.
Yeah, well, I am excited. By the way, guys, if you are a new loan officer, I mean, I'm constantly blown away how many new loan officers are tuning in to the YouTube channel at Mortgage Coach, tuning into this mastery. You really need to take the advice that's going to come through today's call. So if you're new, check it out. And by the way, whether you're a top producer that wants to take it to the next level, or you're kind of in that place where you're anywhere from struggling to just not satisfied, we're really going to make this call for you guys. So Todd, why don't you start with just kind of taking us down memory lane and highlighting some of your favorite calls and some things that you think we should just call out today.
I love the opportunity to do it. Dave and I were sort of strategizing for today. We knew we had Todd Duncan coming on as a guest, and we know we've got Sales Mastery coming up, which is really exciting. I know a lot of you in our community are going to be there. So I think it's such a great time for us to be together. But it was fun when Dave said, hey, what should we do? I said, well, gosh, we should really talk about this, right? We've got 99 previous episodes. And give some of the people who are newer to the community a little bit of background on where we came from, how we got here, and then it was really a challenge as I started looking at who we've had on as guests, right? When we've had you guys jump in from the community and be highlighted on our calls, when we've answered your questions and just really what we've gone through. And so I just thought I'd take just a couple of quick minutes and sort of talk through back to, June, July of 2016, when we started down this path, and really how this Insane Productivity group became the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind, and how, Dave and I, with the help of Michelle Town and Jennifer Duplessis, and then also Dave Gallegos back in the day, others like Danny Harani, Jeremy Forcier, right? We've had Bill Hart along for the ride. I mean, we've had just some amazing people that have been huge contributors to this community. But most importantly, what I realized as we got going is it was actually you guys. You guys are the reason that we've got this huge group that we've got this huge following. And so, as Dave is scrolling in the screen, you can see here, right? We were originally just called Week 1 Insane Productivity. We didn't have even any titles to it. So when we started back in August 5th of 2016, it was sort of funny. There was only 10 of us on the call plus us mentors. And, Dave called out, what is your mortgage coach why? And it's been interesting. I'm launching my Win by Noon operating system program, and I've talked to about 24 of you this week. And, a lot of you are missing your why, right? So, your mortgage coach why was such a great opportunity for people who hadn't thought through what's truly important to them, right? When it comes to, life planning, right? I mean, Todd Duncan, right? He's a master of that, talking about, you have to know your why first, right? High trust is all built around your why and finding out other people's why. And so as we kind of started off and we kicked off there, it was just kind of hilarious because we literally had 10 other people on the call, and Dave unmuted everybody except for one person. I won't mention their name, who we had to mute out. A lot of noise. But ultimately what happened is that everyone was actually called upon in that call to have a conversation, which now that we've got, over 100 people on, every call, and sometimes a couple hundred people, we can't do that kind of thing. And then I really started looking at, well, what were other top calls that we had, and how could I make that powerful for you guys? And really, as Dave and I were talking yesterday and preparing for it, we realized there's just a ton of great content in there, and it's really hard for us to pick what's the best content for all of you, right? How are you guys going to figure out, how can I tell you what's going to be of most value? You guys are just going to have to spend some time going through there. But let me highlight just a couple of personal things that I loved, and maybe Dave will jump in and do that. I really love these that Dave is showing now, where I was wearing a suit. Dave's looking all cool on the steps, and he found some picture of me wearing a suit looking like a stiff, but that's okay. I would tell you that a couple of other highlights for me, just picking 2 dates I think that showed up, and then I'll highlight some other people and some other calls that I think may be valuable to you, is last year, July 19th, that's when we opened it up past just the people who had purchased the Insane Productivity product with Mortgage Coach. Really, up till then, which is just over a year ago, we only had about 150 members of the group on Facebook. And, although there was more members of Insane Productivity, those were the ones who are actually on Facebook. And then Dave and I discussed, we would keep going, right? I think some of you know the story. We originally only committed to do this for a few weeks. And then we said, okay, we'll do it for 90 days. And then we said, okay, hey, let's do it just for the next few months and see how we both feel about it. And every week we would talk about how much fun we were having and what great feedback we were getting from all of you. And so we hit this point where Dave came to this crazy idea, let's just open this up as a Friday mastermind. We're getting such great feedback on it. And that's what we did. And then we went from having less than 200 people in that group to now adding 4,000 more people in just over a year. And that's thanks to all of you. So that's really part of the reason that we're grateful. Of course, shortly thereafter was something big for me, right? It was the launch of this thing, Win by Noon, which, I wasn't really going to talk about much in the public. I really created for my team and for my friends, and I made 100 of them thinking it wasn't necessarily going to go anywhere. And then Dave made me talk about it on this call. And thanks to all of you, we've got real estate users, mortgage users. Now we've got insurance users, title people using it. We've got a network marketing edition that we're testing out, and it's become another business. So I'm appreciative for you guys for that and that opportunity when Dave forced me to talk about it unwillingly on June 30th. So, those were two other great dates. But when I really think through other things that were really big that Dave and I did, it wasn't part of the Friday series, but we did Scriptapalooza earlier this year. If you haven't watched that 2-hour video, you should watch it. And that was a blast because I got to do that with Dave live in Portland. One other one I did live in Portland with Dave, which was a little more awkward because we were sharing one pair of Apple earbuds, was Josh Metal coming on last summer and talking about the 5 pieces of a millionaire mortgage loan officer's mindset, which was a really great call. Every call we've had with Jeremy Forcier where he's talked through scripting for realtors and mindset has been amazing, right? Bill Hart coming on and talking through sales. Bill goes so far back with you, Todd, right? He goes back further than the rest of us. Gosh, probably 20 years. Am I right about that?
23 actually. Yeah, he was in fact running our entire real estate learning division in the mid and late 90s.
That's back when he was no more as a real estate agent guy than the mortgage guy that he's known as today. So that's kind of fun. And, really just kind of thought through what were some of the other great things as I'm seeing Dave flip through this, right? I mean, I always want to make sure I point out that it wouldn't have been possible without, Michelle Town showing up most weeks. She's off at a mastermind herself today, but she's a $100 million producer. Time to come in and pour into you guys, right? Jen Duplessis, who's an author, a coach, a speaker. She's out speaking at an event today in Washington, D.C. or New York or somewhere fancy like that. They've really made it possible. So I'm grateful for them. And really, as I kind of bring back, hopefully, Savage to give me a little bit of his insights. I mean, I'm just looking at all these different calls, all these different places that, Dave and I have been when we've done it, right? Dave's in California today, I think. He sent me a picture of his rig that he's broadcasting from. It's pretty funny. And I don't know, Dave, what am I missing? What else have we done? What else have we done together that you've loved that you think we should talk about today?
Got it. Well, I mean, I first want to say grateful to the hundreds, and I haven't actually analyzed it, but I think there's about 1,000 mortgage professionals that visit this call in this group weekly, one way or the other, either through the video of the group. There's obviously, we've got 4,224 in our Facebook group. So by the way, if you're watching this and you are not part of the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind, so remember it's Productivity Mastermind because we have a couple different mastermind groups. Make sure you subscribe to that group and check it out. So first, just thank you guys, for all the questions, all the comments, because we would not be doing this without you. In fact, when we started out at 10 and got to 20 and we're just like, is this really giving a lot of value? And we're like Todd, the more value we give, the more value we get. And so, because of you, we're continuing to do it. And it's really gaining a lot of momentum. So, I mean, it's not a question of, are we going to get to it? I mean, I know I'm going to do 200, so I'm in it for the next 200. I don't know whether Todd will tap out or not, Bookspan, but we're in it to win, guys. But a couple things that, like when I thought of some of the all-time greats, Bill Hillstad blew my mind when he told me that you could download all of your contacts out of LinkedIn and put them into a CSV file and upload them into your Facebook group. And, I went from not having a Facebook page to having, 12,000 likes in Facebook. I was like, like blew my mind, creating a custom audience. So that call was amazing. We get so much discussion around video and building your personal brand. I'm a massive fan of Kelly Zitlow. She's a big mortgage coach. I think if she doesn't have the best YouTube page, she's certainly among the top YouTube loan officers that has a YouTube page in America. And having Kelly just come in and unpack her story, like, this is why I do it. This is how I do it. That was pretty incredible. I get asked, it seems like there's a question about CRM almost, every week. Hey, who's using what CRM? So, having Danny Harani, one of the America's most successful loan officers, come in and unpack his CRM strategy and all the discussion around it. That was crazy good. And then, I can keep going on past calls, but here's what I'd like. If you're on this right now, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're live, if you had a favorite call that we've done out of this past 100, what was it? What was your favorite call? Let us know what were some of your top ones. And then I do want to shout out a couple of the past two. Jeremy Forcier came in last week, or no, not last week, but the week before. And that video has already been watched like 900 something times. It's probably going to be over 1,000 by the end of the day. And it was just all about realtor scripts with Jeremy Forcier. So, that was ridiculous. And then Cody Touche, $100 million producer out of the Seattle market. Here's what I like about Cody. I did my first interview with him a couple weeks ago, but he just epitomizes this. I'm a local loan officer. I invest in real estate. So he's a real estate investor, and how he's doing high touch, high tech experiences. There's just, I don't say he's the best because I know hundreds of the best, but that interview that we had and then having him come on our mastermind call 3 weeks ago, I thought was, it was just ridiculously awesome. So those are some highlights. And then, I'm going to throw it to you, Mr. Todd Duncan. I've interviewed you, countless times. You've been on the Tuesday call a lot. This is, I don't know, is this the first time you've come into our Friday mastermind, Todd, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, hopefully you'll be willing to come back. But anything come to mind just hearing some of the things that Todd and I have said, and just the whole concept of loan officers masterminding and doing it regularly. Anything you want to add to the party?
Well, I mean, beyond the obvious that, we're powerful together in this industry as a group. And there's always this idea that we can all level up. We can all be better than we are. And certainly the way to do it is to follow people that have taken the path that you want to take. And so the power of masterminding is that it's brilliant minds. I mean, in 1994, I started the Mortgage Mastermind Group, and it was a group of 13 originators, and we met every 3 months somewhere in America, and we did site visits of each other's branches, and then we developed best practices and launched things that are now industry standards. I mean, in 1994, to invent the annual client review was a breakthrough, and to see today that an industry has followed that opportunity as a strategy. I think that everybody needs to understand that there's only 2 ways to go forward. One is to try and do it on your own, and the other is to partner with people that can help you pave the way. And certainly what I can gather from the Friday group, and certainly the Productivity Mastermind group, Dave, is that it's an ecosystem of best practices. For me, standing on the sidelines watching what happens in the industry, as I look at executors and implementers and people that trust the high trust methodology and the ideas, it's just, for me, it's overwhelmingly gratifying to see LOs winning, and all the LOs that you mentioned, and all the way back to, to Bill Hart and all of those things. I mean, I can look back over having started this company in 1992, and I can look at the impact that, Mastery's had on 70,000 LOs and millions of borrowers. And I can say that didn't happen because I woke up one day with a lot of ideas. It happened because I mastermind. It happened because I partnered with, switched on people that wanted to be better and go further. And so I have a real sense that this group is special, and what you guys are doing creates predictability and execution. And I think the longer people go on, the more they will realize that they don't have time for executing poorly or executing wrongly. And so the power of this group, I think it's an insurance policy on implementing the right things at the right time, the right way, and then obviously getting the right results. So it's pretty special to be part of the call today.
Love it. So I want to throw it back to you, Todd. And at some point, I'd like to share a few thoughts on some of my takeaways. I was at the Digital Mortgage 2018 event, and I want to share that at some point during this call. But I'm going to throw it back to you, Todd. Before I do that, I want to remind everybody on this call a couple of things. So one, if you have a favorite, let us know in chat, let us know on Facebook. Also, I've been getting a lot of people email me and say, hey, Dave, you did this interview about blank, but I can't find it. Can you email me? And I just want to give you a heads up. I'm going to push it back and say, hey, why don't you ask that in the group? Because if you ask those questions in the group, not only are you going to get me answer it and share something, you're going to get something you're going to get the power of our community. So, and again, you guys know me, I'm very close to the streets, interview top loan officers every single week. So feel free to email me, but I just be warned, many of those times I'm going to say, well, throw that in the mastermind group so that we can all answer that as a group. So I want to give that heads up. And again, please share your takeaways now. And with that said, Todd, I'm going to throw it back to you, and then let me know when I can rock it out on the digital mortgage event.
All right. Well, I'm not going to take much longer to muse over the past, right? I think in the end, I want you guys all to hear a couple things. Number one is we are grateful, right? The mentors, Dave, myself, Michelle, Jen, we're grateful for you guys showing up and contributing and participating. And so, although Dave tried to throw me out, I just heard him say, I don't know if Todd's coming in for the next 100, but I know he's in, but I'm in as well. You're not going to get rid of me that easy. So I will be around and be here and participating, because really to me, it's fun. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing with you guys week in and week out. It's really been the highlight of my week, is to get on here and share with you guys. And I think what I want to do is just ask for feedback from you, right? If you guys can reach out, either we'll start a conversation on the actual mastermind page in Facebook. But if anyone wants to reach out, you don't want to put it on there to me directly, I'd love to hear from you. Just, hey, what can we do to make this better, right? What is it you like doing that we should keep doing? What is it that you're kind of frustrated with and said, hey, that's not really the best calls that you guys are doing. Maybe you should change it up. And then anything you think we should add, like really let's hear from you guys so that we make sure that we get this going the right way going forward, because it's about you. I would always tell you guys that when some of my favorite calls are ones where someone has raised their hand, asked a question, we've unmuted you unsuspectingly, and we've done stuff. So I can think back to like when we unmuted Tim Lamb and he talked about his YouTube video project, and we had, some great content on that.
That was killer.
Yeah,
it was killer.
It was. I can think back, right? Dave talked about the Kelly Zitlow call, right? Where she literally gave you her playbook. She went through her PowerPoint that she does with realtors, right? That's huge. I mean, these are things that are a big benefit to you guys to go back through there and learn that, right? Todd talked about when they created the annual mortgage review. I'd never heard that story before, but it's something that made me a lot of friends and a lot of money and close a lot of loans during my mortgage career. And, to know that he was part of it, of course, I'm not surprised, right? I mean, what Todd's not telling you is the names of all those people and the fact that, they all created and a lot of times sold products that you guys are still using today and paying for, but they really were birthed out of Todd's mastermind and Todd's brilliance. So, it's such an interesting piece of it if you guys know a lot more of the backstory like I do. And really, that's why I think it's so special that we've got the other Todd here with me, the big Todd today. And one of those things that
I'm just going to start calling you guys Bookspan Duncan, for this call, so by the way, Todd, if you're still on, but you said something about Tim Lamb, and I wanted to remind folks of two things. One, anything that you want to search for, I remember there was something about realtor scripts. You can, go to our group and type in realtor scripts and that call will pop up. He mentioned the Tim Lamb, and I think my interview with Kelly came from Tim. Tim posted this question that like, hey, is anyone else doing a YouTube channel? I'm getting ready to start one, and I want to know what kinds of videos I should do. I think that's how it started. And I said, Tim, great question. Let me go out and see if I can get one of the best loan officers in America at that on the call. And then, by the way, we started collecting what are all the videos you could put in that. Tim created a checklist of that, and he uploaded it back to the group. So I just want you guys to see, Tim Lamb's YouTube video topics. If you go to files, every document that's been uploaded into this group, you could get in the files section, and remember, you could search for anything that's happened. So, again, emails to me are fine. You can always email me, but a lot of that stuff, you could just go find it yourself or ask a question in the group and get a bigger and better answer than an email to me. Todd, keep it rolling. I just wanted to share that.
No, I love that. And, it's just funny to me because, again, what I'm laughing because literally on my desk, I've got the Tim Lamb stuff printed out, right? I mean, I had someone ask me for it. And, again, my go-to resource is going to our Mortgage Coach Mastermind Productivity Facebook group for questions and resources. So I love that. Keep it up, guys, as we're going through it. This is about us. And I was just thinking, really, Dave, I mean, I think we just have to kind of think through what else is it that you guys want? Like we've brought in a couple of realtors recently. Do you guys want more of that? We've brought in more loan officers, right? So where we've gone a little bit different direction with them on a Friday call who might've been on a Tuesday call. We've talked through scripting. Really, let's just figure out what you guys want between now and the rest of the year, and let's kick it off and let's make it happen. But other than that, I'm just one final time say how grateful I am for everyone and for you, Dave, and for you, Todd, for your mentorship. And then let's hear what you learned at the digital summit, because it sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, by the way, it was awesome. Again, let me qualify the fact that I am a mortgage nerd. By the way, Todd Duncan is going to close off today's call. So if you have questions for Todd, you can start piling those in chat. Also, if you're on this call or whether you're on Facebook or here and you're going to Sales Mastery, I mean, to me, it's going to be a very special event, and it's a very important year. So if you are going, please, let us know in comments. And I'm actually, Todd and I, Bookspan and I, are going to host, like we did last year, a little happy hour first day. Won't get in the way of the event, and we won't let people drink too much before the event, Todd, so don't worry. But, I want to just do a champagne toast. So know that I'm going to be doing a champagne toast with whoever's part of this group before opening night. But let's talk about what I learned at Digital Mortgage. So first of all, for those of you that don't know what Digital Mortgage is, there were 1,500 mortgage executives in Vegas Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And when I say it was the who's who in the mortgage tech space, you'll see by some of the takeaways, it was the who's who in the mortgage space. So I did have the honor of hosting the closing panel. And I mean, it was a rock star panel, one of the best panels I don't want to say I've done, because it was such an all-star cast on my panel. Todd, you know Garth Graham. I had both Garth Graham and Steve Brown, the former futurist at Zillow. I had the lead investor for Blend. You know, I had a guy who used to be chief revenue officer for WeWork that is leading a mortgage company. And the fact that a guy who is, you know, the head of revenue for WeWork is now leading Mr. Cooper is like mind-bending. You know, so it was really a special panel. Obviously, you guys have heard the quote from me, technology isn't going to replace loan officers, but loan officers who master technology are absolutely going to crush loan officers that don't. I'm going to do my takeaways like this. And by the way, I want to make sure I have plenty of time for Todd. And by the way, feel free to chime in, Todd. You know, I'll make sure we save time for you at the end. But this was something I said from stage to kick off the panel. And by the way, this is something that I heard other leaders say from stage in different ways. But today, the mortgage industry is made it to it's a race for the best customer experience. You know, that is the race is on. And I think when most loan officers hear that, they're like, oh, that means I'm racing with Quicken Loans, you know, and you're not. You're racing with a whole lot more than that. And, you know, when you think of the best customer experience, first of all, let's define the customer is a home buyer. You know, home buyer is our customer. And I'm going to give my punchline in a minute at the end. So Zillow it really is the best customer experience now, not only to search for homes, but to quote rates. And remember, rate shopping is up. So everybody can quote rates anywhere and everywhere. This was the quote from the founder of Zillow at the Inman event last year, where he said, the agent of the future is a coach and advisor to home buyers and sellers. And by the way, I didn't throw that term coach in there because that's my agenda. I'm mortgage coach. He actually said that. You know, this was via quote from Zillow. And so we, you know, validation. I mean, everybody on this call, you know this, but it's nice when the guy who founded Zillow sees it the same way we do. Another amazing consumer experience, and my personal favorite MLS in your back pocket app is Redfin. Now remember, Redfin's a disruptor. So, you know, not only are they disrupting the real estate space, they own a mortgage company now too. They're coming after the mortgage space, you know. So, but again, I'm not here to talk about who you're competing with for loans. I'm saying, you know, who are you competing with customer experience? So think about that. And I've got a punchline at the end here. Keller Mortgage now, you know, and by the way, that is absolutely a direct competition because many of you on this call, you have Keller agents, you have Keller offices, and now Gary Keller is just like game on, you know. I mean, he's not even being, you know, PC about it. He's like, you know, Gary Keller, the most powerful guy in real estate, is like, I'm after those mortgages, you know. And again, I'm not going to pontificate over it. I'm just going to say there's a combination of disruptive technology coming into the mortgage space and disruptive business models. So you need to think about that. And then guys, you know, I mean, some people, like, I think only the nerds really pay attention to Open Door and, you know, all the disruptors that are coming into space. There was a lot of buzz at the event, and this is a takeaway for everybody. It was like, and it was a question on my panel, is Amazon coming into the mortgage space? And I can just tell you that everybody at Digital Mortgage says yes. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when and how. And pretty much everybody was taking bets on, is it going to be by 2020 or later? And the smartest people that I know are like, sooner rather than later. It's going to happen by 2020. I'm going to make a bet. While there was a lot of people saying they're going to come in and they're going to buy a big mortgage company, like a Quicken, Loan Depot, and that's how they're coming in. which by the way, absolutely might be. So I'm not here to like, I know this is how it's happening. But Joe Pertua, our president, and I, we personally think one of their first early moves will be to buy one of the disruptors, like an Open Door, you know, and really go after the MLS in the home. So as they come into mortgage and financial services, they hit the real estate space first. Just saying. And there were other, you know, smart minds that think that that might be the case. Again, we can't talk about competing for customer experience without talking about Quicken. You know, you just can't. And by the way, who was one of the keynote speakers? That's the one and only, you know, Bill Emerson, chairman of Quicken. I'm a big fan of Julian Hiberon, good friend. I've interviewed him. Anybody that really wants to get, you know, smart on mortgage, I did 2 interviews with Julian this year, and they're incredible. By the way, Todd, I highly recommend you have Julian, you know, if nothing else, just tweet and kind of make Sales Mastery kind of a newsworthy event from his perspective, even just sitting in the audience doing tweets. But I love how Bill Emerson said, you know, he literally asked the audience, hey, you know, who in lending is in the mortgage space or the technology space? And he said, you're both wrong, because if you're in lending, you're in tech. They're one and the same. So that was a takeaway for me, and I think it's important for y'all to note. The first keynote on Monday morning was Anthony Shea, and Anthony crushed it, by the way. Highly recommend every mortgage professional listen to his 20-minute keynote. It's on YouTube. If you can't find it, post a question in our YouTube channel. I'll share it and give it to you. But he said so many smart things, and I'm going to show a couple of his slides in a minute, because he just netted it out in 20 minutes. Not only did he tell you where the space is going, but he told you where they're going, and I think it's smart where they're going. But you know, this quote, you got to get a funnel, you got to get to the buyer early. And by the way, here's a slide from his presentation, and it's like everybody is going after the home buyer. You got the big banks, you got the tech companies doing mortgages, you got the MLS in your back pocket, folks. You got the disruptive, you know, billion-dollar valuation open houses. You got House in Angie's List coming after the space. You know, you've got, you know, multi-billion-dollar funds coming into the space. SoFi, Mosaic. I mean, it's a truly exciting time for the referral-based local loan officers. And by the way, it's truly a terrifying thing for the referral-based local loan officers. I'm going to talk about and net it out why it's truly exciting. But by the way, if you don't make the right moves right now, and that's one of the reasons why I think it's so important to be at Sales Mastery this year. If you're not there masterminding with the best of the best, you just can't execute the way y'all need to execute. So a couple more slides, Todd, and then I'm going to hand it off for you. You know, by the way, are you guys still seeing my screen?
Yeah.
So here's something. I mean, I knew Quicken and Loan Depot were big. You know, like, yeah, I know they're one of them's a top 10 lender. It's coming out of nowhere. One of them's, you know, top 10 purchase lenders. I didn't quite realize that between those 2 lenders, they're doing 1 out of every 5 refi in America. I just didn't know that with clarity. And by the way, and I didn't know that in 2011, they were doing 1 out of 30. And so literally, what's 5 divided by 30? It's 6, if my math is right. You know, 6 times the growth. You know, like, they're multiplying. And guys, you know Moore's Law. You know, that means over the next, you know, whatever things are going faster in tech and models, there's going to be even more growth over the next 2 years. So to me, this is mind-bending, scary and exciting at the same time. I did not know that those 2 lenders are also doing 1 out of every 200 in, 1 out of every 22 purchase loans. And by the way, look at that, where they were in 2011. They're coming after the purchase market. So and by the way, we haven't even got started with Amazon Mortgage. We haven't even got started with the disruptors picking it up. So if this is not a wake-up call to everybody on this call that you need to use technology, your CRM, mortgage coach, you need to love on your customer like never before. You need to turn your past customers, every one of them, into raving fans. annual reviews. You know, if it's not just super clear you need to do that, hold on tight. A few more takeaways. Another slide from Anthony Shea where, you know, I don't think this wasn't like new for me. Like I get it, but I just like this slide where it's like, hey, traditionally 2 years ago, even the realtor owned the buy decision. They're the ones that I own the buyer and I refer all the parties. And now it's like, no, the consumer does. They've got a mobile app. They've got all kinds of apps. I mean, this is the power of a personal mobile app is insane. And it's created this disruptive approach to where the consumer picks their lender, the consumer picks everybody. And by the way, that was a big, another takeaway from the event. You're seeing more and more mortgage companies saying, you know what? We are better at aggregating and managing leads in the real estate spaces. Why don't we own the customer? Why don't we refer the realtors? So really, you know, change this little picture right here from realtor to lender, you know, that would be a playbook that I'd be running. You know, this is great. I mean, this was Anthony kind of sharing, hey, this is our Loan Depot strategy that, yeah, we're digital and we've got a consumer direct group, but you know what? We're also local. And by the way, this is the playbook for every referral-based local lender and loan officer in the country. You know, to me, this is a smart strategy. We had Joe Tyrell from Ellie Mae, you know, I mean, EVP Corporate Strategy Officer from Ellie Mae, throwing down and gave a great presentation. I like this takeaway. I'm going to kind of read this tweet that Jillian did backwards. And that is that 92% of borrowers start the lending process online now. But it's hard. You need to deliver a personalized experience. It's hard to deliver a personalized experience, but families want a personalized experience. And I think this plays really well into the local referral-based local loan officer. If you use tech, if you've got a good digital front end, if you use your CRM, if you use Mortgage Coach, you really are, you could just own the model. And then my last couple of thoughts, and then I'm going to hand it off to you, Todd, and we're going to do a little bit of Q&A, is guys, let's not forget that banks really own it. You know, while there was a time when they had majority market share, heck, there was a time when brokers and banks had majority market share. You know, I do see the broker model growing. You know, I think there's about 6% of the loan officers in America that are brokers. I think it's going to go to 12. But big banks, you know, they're not done. They haven't really started flexing their power yet. And this was one from one of the B of A executives, SVP of consumer lending. So, I mean, a guy who's setting strategy and basically telling us from stage that we've got 47 million households where when it comes to filling out a loan app, it's already filled out. Like everybody, you know, 47 million people at B of A have a filled out loan app. So you know, the world's changing quick. And here's a couple punchlines, guys. Do you think this price compression and this rate shopping we're in is a storm that's passing by, or is it the new norm? By the way, feel free to add your comments. Do you think it's the new norm, or do you think it's going to get better soon? I do not think it's going to get better soon. I think this is the new norm. I think compression will continue. I think that was a takeaway that I had going into digital tech, and I came out of it going, oh, wow. It's fact that if you want to kill it, you really need to change your model as a referral-based local mortgage professional. And here's your model today. Your model today is lead development, advice, transaction. By the way, you notice that that's the biggest piece where you're spending your time in Client for Life. And by the way, if you're on this call, you probably spend most of your time in lead development and transaction. And to me, the takeaway was this, that you need to expand your advice, high trust selling, total cost analysis. Todd and I kill it in this category together. The transaction is going to be more and more automated. It's obvious, it's clear, it's already happening. You know, Garth Graham from Stratmore, you know, I mean, just expert after expert not only said it's happening, they're showing evidence that it's happening, and it's going to accelerate over the next 2 years. So your time on transaction is going to be less than ever. But the good news is if you crush it with advice, if you crush it with Client for Life, you have you could have your golden years, like literally 2000 and 2020 could be an absolute party for you. So I'm going to close it with a couple last thoughts with, it was obvious from the panel that every lender out there has more technology than they have adoption. That was, if not the biggest pain point people had. Big pain points were, hey, we have less money to spend on technology than ever, but we need to spend more. That was pain. There was a lot of pain around at the C-suite going, which tech should I buy first? And unanimously people were saying, buy the consumer experience, which was good for Mortgage Coach. We were very well represented at that event. And I think you'll see Mortgage Coach get turned on in more and more tech stacks, just the advice that was given. But here's the deal. Amazon is coming. The question is when, and all these models are coming. And so you really need to upgrade your human adoption. And this is, like this call, everything I do online, it's to help you, the Mortgage Coach community, have a competitive advantage so that by 2020, you're ready for this. It's like, game on. There's a fight going on, but I'm well armed, I'm well positioned. I'm going after my past customers like there's no tomorrow, and you're crushing it. So with that said, I'm going to let Todd, Bookspan and Duncan comment or ask questions, and then within a couple minutes, focus on Todd and Sales Mastery.
Dude, that was huge. Like, what a gift to the community, Dave. Like, you were all excited yesterday, and I was eagerly anticipating you giving me some more details. A couple things that you said that I'll throw out there, and then I'll hand it over to the other Todd. I agree with you. It's the new norm, right? I mean, this is the business that we're in going forward, and I think you either can be scared or you can do really what Todd Duncan said at the beginning is you can implement, right? Dave just showed you that roadmap, right? I mean, Dave's little digital mortgage slide that he showed that Bill Hart and I talked about last week, that is your future, right? I love what Dave said. Dave said, create your golden years, right? I mean, this is your time to do that. If you don't actually think through starting at the left side of that graph and look at each of those pieces in your personal business so that you can actually then finish up with a strong client for life program, set your golden years, you're making a huge mistake. And so what I love about having Todd Duncan follow me is I bet he's going to tell us how, if you can show up at Sales Mastery in just a couple of weeks and toast Dave and I with our champagne, how you can actually learn these things there so that you can implement them and or get some momentum heading through the rest of 2018 and really heading to 2019 on the right path. So that's my 2 cents. I love that, Dave. Thank you for sharing that. That was huge.
Cool, man. Thanks. Well, I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to hand it off to Todd. So I want everybody to think about what I said. First of all, I want you to ask yourself right now, and by the way, if you're a loan officer, I want to think about you and your team. If you're a branch manager, I want you to think about you and your branch. If you're a regional on this call, I want you to think about you and your region. And if you're a head of production or a CEO, I want you to think about your sales force. And I want you to ask yourself, where are you at in terms of prepared? You're digitally transitioned. And again, I'm going to show my screen one more time. What percentage are you at? And oops, just stopped sharing my video. Let me share my screen. And remember, you're an advisor and coach who captures data on clients and partners so that you can customize and personalize multi-channel, email, text, Facebook, LinkedIn, content and services like a total cost analysis, like a mortgage review, like a lifestyle touch point, which by the way would be a birthday reminder, relevant news, updates, and top of mind contact. Where are you at? What percentage are you ready? And then I want you guys to realize sales, it's 2018. We're at the tail end of it. So when you look at the time, if you start now, the next Sales Mastery is in 2019, and you need to be ready by 2020. And by the way, another reason why you need to be ready by 2020, I did an interview with Pat Stone. Check that out. And he's saying, and most economists are saying, we're going to have a recession in 2020. So by the way, that's when rates go down. That's when we make lots of money. But by the way, for all you CEOs, that's when, profits get even tighter again. So, I mean, you need to be ready because one, it's going to be a gold rush, possibly. Two, it's going to be, if you don't have a digital front end, if you aren't a digital loan officer, you're in trouble. So that's why it's time to get busy. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Todd Duncan. And I think that's why this particular year is so important, because we've already talked about, like, we all grew up in masterminding. Sales Mastery is the most elite event of the best loan officers, the best professionals, all in the same venue. Todd always picks a venue that's a life-changing, a place where you can really have a transformational experience. He puts on an event that is very, it's not just about the content, it's about the experience. He puts on an event that's transformational, and he picked the theme this year of game changing, change your game. So again, Todd, with all that said, I'd love for you to give, if you want to ask me any questions on what I've just gone through, feel free. And then I really want you to just provide some leadership to this community that Todd and I have worked so hard to build. And we care so much about everybody in this community winning. So what are some of your thoughts, Todd?
Yeah, thanks. No, really, for anybody that's been in this business any length of time, what we're staring at right now is complete transformation. This business will never be the same, and it's all good. It's what's happened for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years and centuries. Change is something that everybody's got to realize can never be stopped. And so you either have to adapt or you have to reject the change that's getting thrown at you. And, if any of you, per Eddie's question in the chat box, want to reboot and reset, and I've heard the term golden years. I don't think golden years have anything to do with your age. I think they have to do with how you're executing strategy in whatever market you choose to be in. And so, I wrote down a couple of things as you were talking, Dave and Todd, and one of the things I wrote down, and I'll ask it in the form of a question: what do you think 5,372 LOs have said to me is the number one regret they have in being a loan officer? And I don't know how we could pull that. We probably can't. But if you think about it, we've got data on almost 5,200 surveys, and the number one regret by miles compared to any other regret is that loan officers have not done a good job nurturing their after-sale relationships with their database and with that ecosystem of borrowers that should be following them for life. So I bring that up not for any other reason other than to tell you that the future in large part is going to be about you engaging that group and paying attention to that group as you continue down the path. So when we look at the traditional model versus the new model, and we look at realtor-driven business and consumer business, you're going to have your own version in a very cost-effective way of consumer direct. It's that straightforward. In 1994 at Sales Mastery, I said this quote to the audience that year. I said, "He who owns the lead controls the destiny of the loan and all the affiliated services." 1994. That quote is coming true today in ways that Loan Depot and Quicken and some of the big lenders absolutely understand in the changing dynamic of the process. So what we're doing with our elite group is we're getting their business plan built around an 8-2 strategy. And what the 8-2 strategy means is that 8 out of every 10 loans that are going to be done in the future are going to be done out of your database, out of your ecosystem, and you will have a new B2C and a new B2B strategy within that ecosystem. The 2 are going to be loans that come to you via the traditional way. And does that mean realtors are out of the picture tomorrow? No. Does it mean that the bottom half of realtors are going to be completely outmoded very, very quickly? Probably yes. Does it mean that the buyer's agent's role is going to change and get challenged as we look at all these tech apps and data first mentalities and and search opportunities? The answer is absolutely yes. It's going to change dramatically. So the LO of the future has got to realize that you got to play your own little game of B2C. And you have to be able to look at the movers and the shakers that are in your ecosystem. And you have to start really paying attention to the value that you bring at point of sale. The point of sale dialogue today is going to be different and more unique than at any point in the future, in the history of our business. 4 or 5 weeks ago, I completed a mortgage app, the complete application. And I'm talking about all of my documentation, all of my tax returns, all of my financials, everything I needed was uploaded to a mobile device within 9 minutes. That loan originator had then every piece of data that he needed on me to have a high trust conversation supported by a total cost analysis. So when you stop and think today that the idea of documentation lists and checklists and gathering this and gathering that whole thing is over. I mean, you know, the data, John Scully wrote a book 4 years ago or 3 years ago called Moonshot. And in Moonshot, he said that within 3 to 4 years, big data is going to rule most of the businesses that are out there. And to your point, Dave, on Bank of America with 47 million households, that's proving the point that they have big data. And the data is driving the speed. It's not driving, listen carefully, it's not driving the quality of the advice. It's driving the speed, but it's not driving the quality of the advice. And so the mortgage coach community is primed, especially in the area of how do we do that? How do we balance the aggregation of data fast with the value proposition of advice second, and do that in a way that we create this massively powerful consumer experience? So here's kind of where I'm at on Dave, kind of what you brought up is for the Zillow founder to say that the agent of the future is a advisor and coach to the borrower, I'm going to say that the loan officer of the future is an advisor and coach to the borrower. I'm going to say that to you and have you understand
Buyer.
If you're not in their life, if you are not in their life and advising, you do not have a disruptive advantage in the marketplace. So beyond all the scripting, beyond pricing, beyond, you know, having great conversation, using the lead generation playbook, which I've gone through several times, you know, you have to be connected. And the one thing that is so dynamically interesting about technology is that, to your point, Dave, you cannot have trust just because you have technology. You can have technology without trust and you will still be a price-centric LO. You can have technology and trust and you can be an advice-centric LO. And it's all going to come down to how do you develop high trust using technology to create a brilliant customer experience. So we've been talking for 20 years about the customer experience. We brought raving fans into the ecosystem with Ken Blanchard in Hawaii in 2000. There's no more important decision that you make going forward as a local mortgage professional than every single buyer that comes through your process is at the top 5 stars every step of the way. You can't play the game of mortgages anymore if you can't deliver a brilliant customer experience. But the one thing that I can tell you beyond just the brilliant customer experience is there's still all the data that we're looking at, Dave, all the worldwide reports. We've got data, 72-page report, 28 global economies. 97% of the world values human connection with technology, not technology supported by human beings. Human connection supported by technology. So the beautiful thing about Mortgage Coach and the beautiful thing about high trust, and then obviously the beautiful thing about sales mastery, is that's what it's about. It's how to have deep human connection that creates valuable relationship that is supported by technology that feeds goals and dreams and delivers that experience in a way today that is easy on the consumer. And that's where we're going. I see it very clearly, but I will tell you right now, Dave, to your little bell curve, you know, by 2020, I mean, I share your thoughts that the next 12 to 24 months dictate the next decade for most LOs in any ecosystem right now, especially this one.
No, so time out, guys. So let's just write down what Todd just said. The next what was it, 6 to 12 months will dictate the next decade of your success, how well you execute. And by the way, I don't disagree with that. And by the way, I don't think that means you're dead. You know, like,
No.
oh, you're going to go. I just think, like, do you want to thrive, or do you want to struggle, or do you want to go status quo? If you want to thrive, there's just never been a better opportunity to upgrade your game. And again, I'm going to put one more push into Sales Mastery, and I'm going to do it 2 ways. One, for everybody who's part of this community, you know, one, hopefully you'll come have a champagne cheers with Todd and I before the kickoff of the event. And then let's be intentional about masterminding together, because we all share this common theme that we believe in Todd Duncan, high trust selling. We believe in sales mastery. So we have that connection around, that's how we become what Amazon can never be. And that's us in our local markets. And then because you're part of Mortgage Coach, you believe in, hey, I'm going to use tech to deliver that advice. So it's kind of like high trust selling, Todd Duncan style, plus Mortgage Coach is how we differentiate. So if you buy into that, you know, really do sign up, come check it out. I'm going solo. I was going to bring my wife, but I said, you know what, I need to touch and spend time, whether it's just kind of knee to knee, you know, I'm not going to be at the pool, you know, I'm too white to just be hanging out at the pool with you guys. But I'm going to be in the lobby meeting with people. I'm going to be in my suite meeting with clients and executives to get the Mortgage Coach button turned on. But it's time to go. So Todd, if you could just remind people, you know, like there may be some loan officers that haven't heard you and I, you know, where is it? How much is it? I know there's a Mortgage Coach discount. Would you mind just kind of telling the community how they can sign up if they haven't already signed up?
Yeah, shout out to Jeff Lang, however, first in the chat box, because he did say the number one regret is ignoring your database. So good job, Jeff Lang. So here's the deal. You should go today to hightrust.com/broadcast. We're going to do a encore replay next Tuesday of a 60-minute session I did called Disrupt or Die, How to Win with Value. That's going to get you in the mindset of what we're doing at Mastery. Number two, any Mortgage Coach user gets a $250 discount off the ticket. So those tickets are $745 instead of $995. The minute you sign up, you're going to get a video link from me on the 5 steps to unlocking your potential, where I'm talking about the mindset of champions and winners, because I want you to be in that mindset when you come to Mastery. And then what we're going to do this year, Dave, is unlike any other year, we're going to give a lifetime digital pass to everybody that attends Mastery, so you have all the video assets from the event. The reason I'm doing that is the market's tough right now, and I want people to be able to have implementation success by having access to all the digital assets. So all the videos, all the PowerPoints, all the scripts, you know, all the stuff that we show on the screen. So those are the 3 things that you need to take action on right now. Yep. And so hightrust.com/broadcast is the free broadcast. Mortgage Coach Dave, you have your own link for everybody. And so I want to make sure that your group knows about that link, and that's how you're going to access the discount when you get into Shopify. But let me say one closing.
So
I just want to remind everybody, as the local lender, you need to have 4 buyer conversations a day where you do a high trust interview with a total cost analysis. You do that 5 days a week. That's 20 consultations a week. If you convert between 25% and you get really good and 75% of those people to loans that close, you're going to fund 200 to 600 loans every single year of your career. So I don't want everybody to get wigged out with technology putting you out of business. I want you to stay with the discipline of buyer conversations. We're going to generate them differently, but it's going to come down to buyer conversations.
Love this, Todd. So by the way, anybody that's watching the recording, there'll be a link down below to the Mortgage Coach link. I think it's salesmasteryevent.com/mortgage coach, but I'll put a link down below. Yep. You know, if you got value from today's call, you know, it's our 100th. We'd appreciate to have a lot of likes. Give us a like, give us a share. We'd love to get this message out. And by the way, we'd love to have more people in our group. So I want to remind everybody on this, you know, this is a public group. This is not a Mortgage Coach only group. Any mortgage professional is invited. I mean, if we get people that spam us and do all that stuff, we boot them out pretty aggressively, and we boot people out all the time. because the groups become so popular. Also want to remind people, it's not showing up on my screen yet, but yeah, here it is. You can add your friends. So if you're a branch manager on this call and you're like, oh, I want my other loan officers to be part of this group, we give you the power to add people. Just, type it in and add them. And, just remind people, use the search field, use the file field. And Todd, we're a minute over, but by the way, when I say Todd, I mean Todd Bookspan. If you have any questions or comments, anything you want to add as we wrap up today's call, we can go a few minutes over, given that it's number 100.
I've got, I'll just say it, right? I got a full page of notes from what you and Todd both shared. And, Todd started off the call talking about implementation, right? That's what he loves to do. So let me just say two things. Number one, first and foremost, if you're not sure about sales mastery, I think you should jump in and choose, right? I agree with what Todd Duncan said, and Dave seconded that, this next 6 to 12 months is really going to shape the future of your mortgage career and can set you up for the next decade. And I can think of no better way to do it than to be at Sales Mastery. And then kind of fun to hang out with me and Dave Savage, of course, too. And then I think the other thing is again, I'll finish where I started with. This is 100 episodes in, right? What I love about it is that Dave's become my buddy. As my wife says, we have a bromance. What I love about it is I've connected with you, and all I want to do is make sure that we keep delivering value and content to you. So let Dave, Michelle, Jen, and I know how we can do that, because that's what we're here to do. So thanks, Dave. Thanks, Todd. This has been a blast.
Awesome.
Well, hey guys, Mr. Duncan, thank you for coming for our 100th.
You're welcome.
Hopefully you'll come back after Mastery. I know you're going to be pretty locked down and busy for the next couple of weeks. Everybody, this call is a wrap. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to knocking out another 100 and celebrating our 200 in a couple of years.
That's awesome, guys. Thanks for letting me join. Have a great day.
All right.
Have
Peace
a great
out.
weekend, everybody.